Hi, I'm Elaine Harding. Welcome to my blog .stampwithelaine.com. For today's project we're going to be making this card. I couldn't have achieved this perfectly symmetrical look without the aid of the Stamparatus. You should only use the plate, bring it to the centre for stamping one at a time. You should never have both into the central position because it will break or snap, and you don't want that. There is a foam mat adapter for photopolymer stamps, but if you're stamping with a clear mount stamp, then you can stamp directly onto this plate. Now this plate has a protective acrylic plate on top of it, but underneath is grid lines, and you have it both in metric and imperial measurements. It is open-ended on two sides, so you can use it in any direction and you're not restricted by the size of your project. On the underside there are 4 non-skid feet to keep the Stamparatus securely in place on your work surface, and a place to store your magnets. Now I've wrapped my magnets with painter's tape to make it easier to grab hold of and to manage. I would highly recommend you only use one magnet rather than both at the same time, because the magnets are very strong, and even though you think it's a safe distance away, it could race towards each other and snap. But just so you know, you can get replacement magnets from Stampin' Up if you should need them. Demonstrators use the largest square from the Layering Squares framelits dies to make their template. But I found that this square, which is 2 7/8 inches, just wasn't big enough for this wreath. I used the largest layering framelit to make this card, and you can see how restricted I was using this die. So that's why I created my own template. I've cut 2 layers of cardstock and I'm just taping them together temporarily with washi tape. If you do it like this, like a photo corner, it will keep the cardstock together. First I'm going to do a bit of scoring. Half of 7 inches would be 3.5, so I'm going to score at 3.5. Turn it 90 degrees and score it again at 3.5. Then I'm going to use this score line here as a guideline, this centre score line, and I need to butt it up or align it at the 2-inch mark or 5 centimetre mark, and I'm going to score again. Okay, rotate it 190 degrees. Again, the centre score line, line it up with a 2-inch or 5 centimetres score line. Rotate cardstock 90 degrees anti-clockwise and repeat. 2-inch score line, score. Rotate 180 degrees, centre line at the 2-inch mark and score again. So you now have a grid. I don't know whether you can see that. Can the light hit it? There you go. Now you've got guidelines as to where to cut. I put my trimmer sideways so you can see better. Now you use the dark grey blade and you've got your guidelines as to where to cut. So you want to cut between this score line and that score line. So put your pointer there, press it down and just cut a little bit way down. Put your pointer there, depress it and then cut that way up. Okay. Now rotate your cardstock and line it up again into that groove. depress, cut partially down, position your pointer there on that mark and push up. Now, just by cutting a little way down, it means that you don't shoot past this line here. Now you want to rotate your card 90 degrees, and you do the same. Line up that score line with the cutting groove here. Put your pointer there. Cut a partial cut at the top. Line it up at the bottom, and then cut toward the top. Okay, rotate 180 degrees so that the groove is aligned with the score line here. Cut partially, lift, make sure that's aligned with that piece, and then cut up. And you should have a piece that will come up. Okay, now it will only cut through one piece of cardstock, so you have to repeat it for the other piece. So now you've got your square cut out, then all you do is align the points of your square along the score lines here, so that they all match up at the same time. Put a little bit of glue on there. Now you can see that that point aligns with this center line here, this point aligns with the center line point here, that one here, and that one there as well. So it's perfectly centered. You can use a pair of scissors and just cut, use that as a guideline and cut through both layers. Then you can remove your washi tape and glue the pieces together. Now, as far as the template goes, please don't feel that you have to cut 2 layers at a time. You might find it easier to cut one at a time rather than 2 like I've done. You know, I was just being lazy and taking a shortcut. It also depends on your trimmer whether it will cut through 2 layers of cardstock. Probably you'll find that it won't, and you'll get a more accurate result if you just cut a single sheet at a time. You'll also notice that I've marked the corner and which way up it should go, so that's where I put it in the hinged corner. There's the hinges, so the hinges will be at the top and on the right for my particular template. The stamp set I'm using is Rooted in Nature, and I'm going to be using these 2 leaves and this sentiment. This is the coordinating die set. You can buy it together to save you 10%, but I'm using just the stamp set for today. The card base, I had to cut that a little bit wider, so in fact I could only get 1 card out of 1 sheet. So this measures 8.5 by 5 3/4. In metric that would be 21.6 centimetres by 14.6 centimetres, and it's scored at 4 1/8, which is 10.5 centimetres and folded in half. You need a piece of just ordinary, very vanilla cardstock that's been cut at 4 inches by 4 inches square. That's 10.2 by 10.2 centimetres. Piece of mint macaron, 4 1/8 by 4 1/8. That's 10.5 by 10.5 centimetres. For the greeting here, you need a piece of mint macaron, 1 1/4 inches by 2 1/2 inches. That's 3.2 centimetres by 6.35 centimetres. For the label, in very vanilla standard cardstock, you need a piece that measures 1 1/8 inches by 2 3/8 inches. That's 2.9 centimeters by 6 centimeters. Some Nature's twine. This comes in a pack of 4. There's 5 meters in each spool, and there are 4 spools. So we're going to be using the Blackberry Bliss with the mint macaron. We'll also need some leaves trinkets, and I'm going to use the copper one this time, and the detailed trio punch to punch out this decorative corner. I'm using the Bitch Razzleberry and Mint Macaron inks. Now I don't need the foam mat adapter, but I'll put a piece of grid paper there, my template. You can use the magnet, but I'm just going to use my washi tape. Mint Macaron to ink up my stamp. I've already positioned it. Place my 4-inch square piece of cardstock in the template here, and I'm going to stamp off first because I want it fairly light. And then rotate it anti-clockwise to each point here. And I'm going to fast forward this because this is triple stamping and there's a lot to get through. I'm going to switch plates now and stamp it with the smaller leaf, and this time I'll stamp it direct. So the original position of the leaf was here, and I've drawn a mark round it. So I'll stamp that direct in the mint macaron. And don't skip any of the points, just keep rotating anti-clockwise on each point. Clean my stamp and switch position, so I'll take it off there and I'm going to position it, say, about there. Change inks to Rich Razzleberry, and I want to stamp off again. See how perfect that is with the Stamparatus and how easy it is. Next I'll use detailed trio punch to punch the corners, so pressure from the centre, glue on the tips, and on the sides. Adhere it to your card base. Now I'm using the imaging sheet from the Stamp-A-Majig to help me find where I ought to place my cardstock. So I'm stamping it over on the imaging sheet, and then I'll pop my cardstock underneath it. Right, I'm happy with that. It's straight on my grid paper, ink it up again, and then I'll stamp. Glue on the back. I do that to the mint macaron matte layer. Dimensionals on the back. Pop that underneath in the middle. Glue dots on the back. Adhere it to the wreath. Grab the twine. Make sure the ends are even here, and then tie a bow. More glue dots on the back. And pop that on top of the leaf. So there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed the new techniques, wreath stamping with the Stamparatus. If you like it, do give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Share on Facebook, and my grateful thanks if you do. If you're watching from YouTube, you'll find the list of supplies I use below this video in the Show More section, with direct links to my online store. They'll also be listed on my blog at blog.stampwithelaine.com. You can find me on Facebook, Pinterest or Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back soon. Bye!